First river victim was Patrick Rogers. He turned up in December of 1980 before any news leaked about the fibers. After that, victims turned up on land, some were in water. It was the same as before and after the fiber announcement. And as a matter of fact, of all the pattern cases, there were only 7 river victims after the announcement of fibers. They were Joseph Bell, Michael McIntosh, Timothy Hill, Eddie Duncan, Curtis Walker, Jimmy Payne, and Nathaniel Cater. Every other victim in this case was found on dry land, so we question, how can the prosecutor use the facts that, well, Payne and Cater turned up in the water to say we have a pattern? And as a matter of fact, Payne and Cater were the only 2 who turned up in the Chattahoochee River in the pattern that they introduced to court. Nobody's addressed that. And also, if we consider cases that are not on the task force list, we can also factor in other water cases. We have 2 more. That was a young man found dead in 1979 in Sandy Creek, not far from where Milton Harvey's bicycle was found. His case never made the task force. He was shot in the back, partially clothed. We don't know if there were any fibers found on him. Also, they have refused to acknowledge the presence of black females being killed. A black female was found killed in South Atlanta near the area where Richardson and Terrell were found. She was found in a stream. I'm saying all of this occurred during the same time, and at the same time, they had females on the task force list. By the time the trial came around, no females. So what we're saying is if the pattern changed at all, it occurred with Patrick Rogers in 1980, but our investigation, and I will say that we have been assisted by investigator Chet Detlinger, who has given us some of his valuable time, we've come to the conclusion that the pattern has not changed. One prosecution link to justify including all of the 10 pattern cases was that both Payne and Cater were victims of an environment and that they stayed out late at night. The same thing was said about Larry Rogers, Alfred Evans, William Barrett. The court even states in its review of the cases that part of its consideration in that was that you have to take all of the information regarding their backgrounds into consideration and the fact that they disappeared at night. This is flatly not true. Jimmy Ray Payne was last seen around 9 and 10 a.m. on 4/22/81. Witnesses can place Nathaniel Cater alive during the daytime on May 22nd, which is after the bridge incident. Larry Rogers was last seen in the morning.
So what witnesses? 3 witnesses.
That's right, I think it's 3, right? So were Alfred Evans, William Barrett, Luby Jeter, Terry Pugh, Joseph Bell, Patrick Baltazar, and of the other 30 task force cases, the others that disappeared during the daylight hours were Yusuf Bell, Clifford Jones, Darrell Glass, Earl Terrell, Aaron White, Christopher Richardson, Milton Harvey, Aaron Jackson, Patrick Rogers, Curtis Walker, and Anthony Carter. The others, I don't think anybody knows when they disappeared. So I'm saying again that I don't see how this can logically be used to say that we have a pattern just because the victims are disappearing at night when they aren't. And again, the court says you have to consider age, sex, and size of the victims, where you have them ranging from 3 feet all the way to 5 feet 11 inches tall, and then ages from 7 to 30.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, at this juncture, I know the question has come up, have the murders ceased? Okay. Now, the limited investigation that I've been able to do in that regard is through the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office. I think that someone needs to, and if at this point we obviously will be doing this, somebody needs to seriously look at the medical records in DeKalb County, Cobb County, and Fulton County. I have a list of about 50, maybe 30 or 50 unsolved murders. Unsolved murders is nothing new to Atlanta, Georgia. There are skeletons found, there are children found, many of them meet what I see to be the same characteristics as those that that Wayne has been charged with. Now, if you talk to the medical examiner, they might tell you, well, it doesn't fit the pattern or this particular pattern or whatever. Now, maybe they say it's fibers. Now, the problem is I don't have access to the crime lab. That's part of the prosecution arm, so I don't know what fibers were taken off what bodies. So I'm limited, okay? But I know that I went personally to the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, and there are unsolved murders of children in the Fulton County medical records that have been before this case, during this case after Wayne was arrested, and are still now. There are unsolved murders. Now that's, maybe the prosecution has later on solved them and the records are incorrect. Okay, I don't know. Okay, there are skeletons found. I don't know if fibers were found in those bodies, but what makes it a pattern? If somebody is hung, because the pattern here shows people who were shot, stabbed, bludgeoned, choked, the whole range of it.
Asphyxiated, whatever.
Asphyxiated, the whole range.
Sure.
Now, I know they talk about asphyxia. Ask whether or not probable asphyxia is not the same thing as unknown cause of death. Ask the medical examiner that. Was that not a new terminology that was used for this case? Probable asphyxia. Ask that question. I don't know necessarily, but that's my own belief from what I have been able to find out.
And Len, let me reiterate what he said. I've got some specifics because, again, the information that Len has, due to some problems we had with the copy machine, we didn't have it. Let's talk about a few of the murders that occurred during the task force cases that are not on the list. Angela Bacon, black female, 15, killed on Georgia Avenue near Captain Pegg's. She has possible links to other case suspects, and she lived in the same area that 5 victims lived in, that frequented the area, and also where a 6th victim was found dead. 1979, unidentified black male, teens found shot to death, Melvin Drive, southwest Atlanta, not far from where victim Edward Smith's apartment was. Investigators found a necktie wrapped around his neck. Edward Smith and Alfred Evans were found dead 2 streets west of there on Niskey Lake, and Smith had also been shot. Unidentified black male, 1979 and 20s, found in Sandy Creek. That was the one I discussed earlier. 1978, an unidentified skeleton of a young male was found behind the church on Tecali Drive, southwest. Gunshot wound to the head, no further information. During the same period, Atlanta police and various police jurisdictions in this area recorded the deaths of 28 young black females. Every one of those is open to this day. Since my arrest, summer 1981, the decomposed body of a young teenage black female found strangled on I-20. Summer of 1981, 15-year-old black male found shot on Westlake Avenue in front of home. No further information. Summer of 1981, the 21-year-old uncle of murder victim Curtis Walker was found dead. No further information. 1981, a relative of Terry Few was found murdered, male, no further information. Winter of 1983, the skeletal remains of a 21-year-old youth reported missing a few weeks after my trial ended was found on Boulder Park Drive, southwest. No further information. Winter of 1982-83, dismembered body of a black male teenager found in a vacant lot in northeast Atlanta. No further information. Winter of 1983, the skeletal remains of a black female reported missing the fall of 1981, found down the street from where victim Terry Pugh was found in Rockdale County. And it's sad to say, but we do not have any information on who is still missing at this time. However, there is one case that was brought to our attention in addition to Darren Glass that's outstanding. Atlanta police since 1978 had the open case of a young man who was found, well, who is still missing from the West End area. We have no further information. So, as you can see, there are definitely homicides that need to be investigated, and all we're saying is that we want the chance to get in court and deal with this information. So
I'm not saying that these cases have not been investigated, and I'm not criticizing, law enforcement or anybody. All I'm saying is that the way I see it, these matters are relevant. They're relevant to the prosecution of Wayne Williams. When 28 young adults have been murdered and those cases have been closed, and as I look through the Brady materials that I've been given on each one of those cases, I can't see how you can close those cases on Wayne Williams with the kind of information that's in these Brady files. It's incredible. And I'm saying that murder is one of the worst crimes in our society. And we are not going to get to the root of murder and why people are murdering if we're going to close murder files. It's unheard of. Now, at this point, we could probably go on for days talking about this case and the related matters that are involved. I think at this time that we will field certain questions. I will say this, that I will not allow my client to answer questions that I feel will have a questionable effect on his appeal. In other words, I still am in the law system, in the legal system, and I want those judges to be unbiased as to the facts that are in the record, okay? But I still feel the public needs to know certain information, and that's why I think that this is important for you all to ask certain questions. And so, to that extent, I will have some reservations and will stop any questions that I don't feel are proper or that I feel that it's a legal question that I should answer. Okay?
Wayne, the sheriff has said that he has received death threats almost daily against you, and that some other inmates here often refer to you as a baby killer. What is your reaction in that type of atmosphere after having lived here for 2.5 years?
Well, Paul, in my 2.5 years of being here, there has only been one incident, and it had nothing whatsoever to do with the nature of the case. I personally am not aware of any threats that have been made, and I've been all over this jail, and I've even had the accidental misfortune of coming in from exercise in the middle of 400 people in yard call, and I'm still here.
Do you have any fears about being transferred to the state prison system? Is that appears to be likely?
Let me answer that for a second. Okay, before he answers that, I want to first ask the question, why should we fear a state custodial institution? Are you saying these people are incompetent to protect Wayne Williams? Why should we fear going anywhere where we're in the custody of the state officials? That's my first question.
Let him answer the question.
Well, okay, he'll answer the question, okay, but that question keeps coming up, and that's my question. Should we fear? I mean, do you all know something we don't know?
Well, it's a change of address, obviously, and a change of administration, so.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll let him answer that. I just want to understand the ramifications of the question.
Well, I don't fear anything. I've always been taught that you should learn to overcome your fears. Sure enough, I have some reservations about it because it would be a change, as he said, of address. But no, I don't fear for my life. I just put my faith in God and trust. It's the best anyone can do.
Wayne, how would you describe your,
That question was asked, because just before you came in here, Sarah Tinscombe told a group of us reporters that if you were put in the general population of the state prison, you wouldn't live one day.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that, you know, those are serious problems. You have people in jail that have serious mental problems. Obviously, that's, you know, it's some kind of mental disorder, or I'm going to say disorder, but the fact that sometimes that you're there, you committed certain kinds of crimes, you know, maybe you have some mental problem, okay? So, I mean, I understand that there could be a lot of resentment for Wayne Williams because of what he represents. I think that if people get to know Wayne Williams, he's a human being just like everybody here in this room. It's only he's been charged with some very heinous crimes, okay? Convicted. And, but I think that's from the way he's been portrayed, essentially, the way he's been portrayed on the press. And I guess the nature of the whole crime itself. So I guess there are some reasons to have some fears, okay?
Man, let me expound on what he was saying now. The one incident that happened here in the jail involved a person who was not of normal mental capacities, but I'm saying there have been no incidents regarding normal people.
are there certain safeguards that you think the state prison system should definitely take?
Well, I'm not qualified to answer that. I don't know.
Wayne, how would you describe your own psychological well-being these days?
Well, I try and stay as calm as possible. What can you say? I'm just a regular prisoner here, and I'm not treated any differently by the people that I'm around here. They treat me like anybody else. We play cards, we shoot the bull and do everything else that any other inmate would do in jail.
Could you elaborate on the eyewitness? You said in your statement you had an eyewitness to one of the murders.
Sure we can. I'll tell you what let me see what. Cliff Jones. Okay, in Clifford Jones, this is from some of the Brady material that was made available to this, and which you will be getting through Reverend Boone shortly.
Well, let me qualify that. Okay, the qualification of that is that you will be getting Brady files, but you will be getting certain kind of investigative information that we feel that certain community people, responsible community people, should be aware of. So we cannot actually turn over the Brady files. Some of those materials are sensitive, and we're going to respect every other citizen in this community. But we do feel that certain responsible people should be aware of certain things.
And that Yeah, I will not call the names in this case, but anyway, that was an incident regarding the place where Clifford Jones was found, the washerette they're talking about, and the witness states that he observed X person kill a little boy with a rope around his neck, and this witness puts the boy outside the dumpster in the rear of the washerette. The rope was yellow. This person, another one, and another person, it says, messed with the boy's behind, chest, and legs, and the boy was wearing a blue and white shirt, long pants, and white tennis shoes. This person answered no when asked by this investigator if the man ever touched him, but they noted that he was evasive. He did say that blank acted like a sissy, and it goes into it. So I'm saying the Clifford Jones case, this is information that will be made available to you.
And that case is very interesting because Clifford Jones had the same quote-unquote unique green trilocal fiber, and you'll be hearing a lot more about that green unique trilocal fiber in the future now that we have serious, accurate information about so-called unique fiber.
Are you saying now that there has not been, that there have been a great many other murders since Mr. Williams has been in jail, and the police are just not talking about it, that they want us and everyone else to believe that they stopped?
I will say this, during the hiatus of this matter, I recall that any child that became missing after so many hours, any child that was, it was front page information. Okay, now obviously, in order for the press to get that, they have to be given that information, I suppose, okay? I'm saying that I specifically have reviewed Fulton County Medical Examiner's records, and I'm saying that there are unsolved murders that have not been made public, or at least if they have, maybe some other resolution is made of them. And I'm saying they're 30, 40, and I don't think that the medical examiners can deny that. Now, what they might deny is, well, this is a woman, so this is not part of the pattern. Now, I don't know if they did fibers on that, in that situation or not. Or this is a suicide, okay? Or, well, some of them have been resolved as suicides, okay? But what I'm saying is, I don't have enough information to make that decision. The subpoenas would have to be taken, and more serious research would have to be done on it. I don't have access to the crime lab. I don't know what's being done. I do know that fibers have been taken off some of those bodies. I just don't know.
Why would they go through that when there has been a trial by a jury and it's gone through an appellate process, and up until this point it's over? You're saying the case isn't over?
I'm saying that if you stop doing fiber analysis, then how do you know if anything is related if your case is primarily based upon fiber analysis?
Lynn, I wonder if I could say this. Some of us within the Atlanta community believe that the cases were never thoroughly investigated. I call press conferences in front of Mayor Andrew Young's office at the police department. Some of us believe that if this were instances where there were white children involved, the FBI would have been in here earlier and would not have left as quickly as they did. Many of us are calling now for the task force to become reactivated